Good morning, ladies and gentlemen from India. Arun Surasdei from Cambodia. Welcome to India ASEAN Pharma Business Meet. Today we have India Cambodia Pharmaceutical Business Meet, which are joined by 52 companies from India and 20 companies from Cambodia. We are happy to have your presence, and we are having two sessions today, and the session one is going to be the webinar and Indo-Cambodia Pharmaceutical Business Meet, and the second session is going to be B2B meetings. So with this, I would like to welcome Ms. Indu C. Nair, Director, Department of Commerce, to offer her welcome remarks. Ma'am, I invite.
Thank you. Good morning, distinguished dignitaries, delegates, ladies and gentlemen from India and Cambodia. It's my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to Her Excellency Ms. Devyani Uttam Kobragade, Ambassador of India to Cambodia, Mr. Lok Safi, Deputy Director, Department of Drugs and Food, Ministry of Health, Cambodia, Mr. Ravi Uday Bhaskar, Director General, Pharmaceutical, Mr. Duryodhan Singh, President, Indian Pharmaceutical Distributors Association, Cambodia, and all the esteemed delegates joining for an insightful session on India-Cambodia Pharmaceutical Cooperation and Regulatory Updates. India and Cambodia share a warm and friendly bonding, also share strong cultural affinity and many common cultural symbols. India-Cambodia bilateral trade has also been growing over the years, but nevertheless, the value and volume of our trade is still modest, and both sides are working towards enhancing and expanding our trade in many sectors. Recently, Commerce and Industry Ministries of both the sides have set up a joint working group. Joint working group is planning to meet either next month or next to next month. So, we would be taking up further our discussion on enhancing our trade and investment. So, earlier we never had any joint institutional group between India and Cambodia to engage on a regular basis. So this joint working group is expected to bring the momentum in our enhancing our relationship. Health is the most important sector of our cooperation. While Indian pharma is well known for its quality and its affordability and cost competitiveness, Cambodia pharmaceutical sector is also growing at a good pace, and we expect that there are a lot of commonalities where we both can cooperate together. India will be happy to facilitate private and public investment in the Cambodian health sector. So we have a project development fund in Department of Commerce. So under the project development fund, we have identified a workable plan for setting up a hospital in Cambodia, a multi-specialty hospital. So the the plan is already finalized. So, Exim Bank, the executing agency, Indian Embassy, and Department of Commerce, we have been closely coordinating with Cambodian authorities for cooperation in setting up or to identify the modalities of the implementation. Uh, the actualization of the hospital project would facilitate cooperation in pharma sector, digital health, movement of professionals, and would also promote further investment in the health sector. India has been supporting Cambodia in its efforts in handling COVID pandemic, including securing adequate doses of COVID-19 vaccines. India can also assist Cambodia in its future plans, policies for providing affordable health to its people. Another area of cooperation is traditional medicines. Similar to India, Cambodia also has a rich tradition of traditional medicines. So both sides can deliberate on the opportunities available in the pharma sector for both countries to collaborating, including the traditional medicines. So once again, I welcome all of you to this meeting. I look forward to a fruitful discussion and B2B interactions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Indu Nair, Director Department of Commerce, for offering your welcome remarks. Moving on, I request Mr. Ravi Uday Bhaskar, Director General Pharmaceutical, to kindly give his remarks on India pharma industry meeting global needs. Sir, I welcome you to give your remarks on India pharma industry meeting global needs.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished speakers and the delegates from India as well as from Cambodia. Her Excellency, Dr. Devyani Uttam Kobragade, Ambassador of India to Cambodia, Mrs. Indu Nair, Director, DOC, Government of India, Mr. Lok Safi, Deputy Director, DDF, Cambodia, and Mr. Duryodhan Singh, President, Indian Pharmaceutical Distributors Association, Cambodia. On behalf of Pharmaceuticals Export Promotion Council of India, I welcome you for this India-Cambodia Pharmaceutical Meet. I'm going to give a very brief presentation on Indian pharmaceutical industry and its global contribution. Before that, I would like to say, before Ma'am Ambassador takes office in Cambodia, she had a meeting with Mrs. Indu Nair, and she was discussing about how Pharmaxil can work with Cambodia, particularly with the mission. So, in continuation of those dialogue and efforts, we have included Cambodia as part of this event, and I'm very much thankful to Her Excellency and Dr. Indu Nair for supporting us and facilitating to organize this meeting. So you are all aware of that Indian pharmaceutical industry is doing very well, and Pharmaceuticals Export Promotion Council of India is formed under foreign trade policy in 2004 with an objective of facilitating Indian pharmaceutical exports. So we have more than 4,800 members registered with the council. Almost all the top manufacturers to merchant exporters, they're all part of Pharmaceuticals Export Promotion Council of India. We not only facilitate the exports, we also equip our member companies to update their knowledge in regulatory changes throughout the globe, and we also publish market reports. So you are all aware of that. India is known for its contribution since last 2 decades. So we're exporting drugs to more than 200 countries, and India is the 3rd largest exporter of formulations by volume and 10th by value. And 70% of WHO vaccine requirements are sourced from India. And 70% of WHO vaccines requirements are sourced from India. At the same time, 90% of WHO pre-qualified APIs are also sourced from India. Madam has rightly mentioned during her talk, Indu Nair, that India exported the repurposed COVID drugs to more than 150 countries during the initial days of COVID. Next slide, please. Just it shows that how we are exporting and what are our major importing partners. So major exports of India are going to North America with 34% and 17% to Africa and 15% to EU. And ASEAN is our fifth largest exporting destination. In the financial year 20, we exported $20.5 billion US dollars worth of drugs to different countries. And if you see our top 10 exporting destinations, the most of the countries are developed, and not only developed in terms of economy, they are also highly regulated markets, and it shows that India is not only catering to the needs of underdeveloped countries or developing countries, we are also catering to the needs of the strongest economies of the world. So India, financial year, particularly financial year 21, April, January, we exported $19.58 billion with 12.46% growth rate in 10 months. So it's a very good news, and the performance of Indian pharmaceutical industry, particularly in these difficult times, once again showed to the world that we are always there to meet the requirements of the global population, whatever the times are. So we are expecting the financial year 21. We are going to touch 25 billions exports. So ASEAN is concerned, financial year 20. We exported almost 1.3 billion, and financial year 21 April January with 13.74% growth. Within 10 months, we already crossed 1.2 billion. Next slide, please. The market size of Cambodia is not that very big, but at the same time, there is a huge potential, particularly in Cambodia. Market size is 412 million US dollars as far as the figures available with the Pharmaceutical. But if you see our exports, it's only 55.81 million US dollars. There is a huge gap between the market size as well as our exports. So India is known for producing quality medicines at a very affordable price, and we are known for producing high quality drugs at a very affordable price, and developed countries are also saving trillions of dollars in their healthcare system by procuring medicines from India. So the Cambodian government can seriously think about how India and Cambodia can work together, particularly in the pharmaceutical trade, in reducing the healthcare expenses by procuring generic medicines from India. Next, please. In the COVID times, 58, we have already exported 58 million doses of COVID vaccine to more than 70 countries, and we're in the process of supplying to more countries. The Indian companies like Serum Institute of India, in collaboration with AstraZeneca Oxford, they developed a Covishield and got regulatory approvals. And not only in India, they got approvals in 25 countries, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has ordered for 100 million doses. And the Bharat Biotech is developed the vaccine, Covaxin. Completely, it's an indigenous vaccine in collaboration with ICMR and NIV. So it's a very proud moment for the Indian pharmaceutical industry and Indian vaccine industry to say that all these years India is known for producing only generic drugs, but the development of Covaxin indigenously sent a very strong message to the world that we are not only a manufacturer of generic formulations, we can also develop vaccines with our own technology and with our own science. So the other companies like the Bioscale, Dr. Reddy's, Zydus Cadila, Hetero, Arabindo, Mankind, Genova, and so many companies are working with the different research organizations and foreign collaborators in developing vaccine to the COVID. So entire world is looking at India to procure high volumes of COVID vaccines. So even Serum Institute of India is supplying vaccines to UK. So their entire world is dependent on particularly the vaccines developed by Indian pharmaceutical industry. So I think we have our friend from the Department of Drugs and Food, Mr. Lok Safi. I think his talk is going to be very beneficial for the Indian companies who are participating in this. And with this, I'm very much thankful to Her Excellency Dr. Devyani Uttam Kobragade for coordinating this event. And ma'am, we'd like to engage with Cambodian food authorities as well as the Cambodian pharmaceutical trade representatives in taking the India-Cambodia pharmaceutical trade forward. I think the talks are going to be very fruitful, and it will be a value addition to the participating member companies. Thank you very much, and wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Mr. Uday Bhaskar, Director General Pharmaceutical, for outlining the Indian pharma industry strengths as well as the cooperation that we can extend to between India and Thailand. Now, moving forward, I now invite Her Excellency Dr. Devyani Uttam Kobargade, Ambassador of India to Cambodia, to kindly give her remarks, inaugural remarks on India-Cambodia cooperation in pharmaceuticals. Ma'am, I invite you to give your kind of inaugural remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Sri Ravi Uday Bhaskar, Director General Pharmaceutical, Ms. Indu Nair, Director, Ministry of Commerce, Mr. Safi Lok, Deputy Director and Chief of Registration Bureau, Department of Drug and Food, Ministry of Health, Cambodia, Sri Duryodhan Singh, President of the India Pharma Distributors Association in Cambodia. Ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, I wish to congratulate the Pharmaceutical for organizing this virtual B2B meeting between Indian and Cambodian companies as part of the India-ASEAN Pharma Meet. It gives me immense pleasure to address this virtual Pharma B2B interaction. Today, B2Bs of the pharma companies from India and Cambodia is indeed a very timely event. Since my arrival in Cambodia, I have been focusing on the pharma sector primarily. It is not difficult to know why pharma sector has been a priority for me as well as for the embassy. Currently, we are in the midst of a major health crisis in form of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has affected severely our most established practices, norms, regulations, and has emerged as the biggest disruptor in recent history. The primary impact of this disruption has been economic, and the way forward is provided by the pharma industry. The pandemic has also underlined the importance of ensuring supply chain diversification and resilience, especially in the health sector. It has made countries reassess their healthcare infrastructure requirements, focusing on availability and affordability of medicines as well as development of reliable supply chains for critical healthcare products. The world has also realized that it needs more trusted and capable partners and players now. As the previous speakers have noted, India's pharmaceutical industry is amongst the leading producers globally of cost-effective generic medicines and vaccines, supplying 20% of the total global demand by volume and 62% of the global demand of vaccines. India is the source of 60,000 generic brands across 60 therapeutic categories and manufactures more than 500 APIs. Considered to be high-quality generic manufacturers across the world, India exports half of its total production of pharmaceuticals to more than 200 countries in the world. In 2019-20, exports to the world reached around US dollars 20.5 billion. During the current financial year, it is estimated that the exports would grow to reach around US dollars 25 billion. Engagement with the world is fundamental to India's beliefs and traditions. India has the willingness and capability to act as a responsible partner as we are guided by the ancient philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or the world is one family. After all, during the pandemic, India not only met its own medical requirement but also supplied to the rest of the world. While many countries are still struggling to find solutions to control the pandemic, India has been collaborating with all stakeholders in making this fight against pandemic truly global. India has made a name for itself in the world of pharmacy, where we provide not only medicines of highest quality but also at the most affordable cost. Even during the pandemic, India has been able to rapidly increase its pharmaceutical productions to respond to the growing global demands. We supplied medicines to more than 150 countries, deployed medical teams to our neighbors in distress. Because of our proactive assistance to the countries in need, India has come to be seen as the pharmacy of the world. We have pledged our capabilities and production capacities to global efforts for developing vaccines and other treatment at low costs. India is also playing a key role in meeting the global demand for COVID-19 vaccines, especially for low and middle income countries. As on date, India has supplied COVID-19 vaccines to more than 70 countries, including Cambodia. Negotiations on supply through commercial channels to Cambodia are ongoing, and the deal is expected to be finalized soon. Serum Institute of India will be supplying around 1.1 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine to Cambodia by May 2021 under the COVAX facility. Coming to Cambodia, it has also undergone a significant transition in the last 2 decades by achieving around 7% growth, reaching the lower middle income status in 2015, and aspires to attain the upper middle income status by 2030. While Cambodia's economy shrank by 3.1% due to COVID-19 impact, it is expected to bounce back to a positive rate of around 6% in 2021 once the situation normalizes. As is the case with almost all countries in the world, while COVID-19 pandemic has affected bilateral trade between India and Cambodia in 2020, a close look at the bilateral trade figures shows a very optimistic picture. And the trend has been upward throughout the last few years, indicating that there is a great potential for growth of bilateral trade. In the pharma sector, India commands a good market share in exporting drug formulations and bulk drugs to Cambodia, and is the market leader with more than 35% of the market share in terms of volume. India enjoys a special relation with Cambodia because of its shared civilizational and cultural linkages and close people-to-people ties. It enjoys much better confidence of the local population in comparison with some of India's generic competitors. It was clearly visible on seeing the preference for AstraZeneca vaccine supplied by the Serum Institute of India to Cambodia. The Cambodian pharmaceutical industry is growing, with most of the demand met largely through foreign imports, both from developed markets such as France and emerging markets such as India, Thailand, and Vietnam. Economic growth, rising disease awareness, and gradual improvement in healthcare provisions are the key market growth drivers. Despite challenges such as subdued healthcare infrastructure and personnel, the sector will continue to develop over the coming years. Private healthcare will continue to expand, given the growing demand for medical treatment. The expansion of universal healthcare will boost utilization of medical services, enabling greater proportions of population to access treatment and services and creating improved economic opportunities for drug makers. Despite Cambodia being a relatively young nation, when compared to its Southeast Asian peers, the country suffers from a high burden of non-communicable diseases. Cardiovascular diseases are the most frequent cause of death, accounting for 38.9% of total mortality, followed by cancer and chronic respiratory diseases, as well as diabetes, blood and endocrine diseases, and neonatal disorders. The growing prevalence and of chronic and lifestyle diseases should certainly see rising pharmaceutical consumptions to treat these conditions. Pharmaceutical spending will remain strong in Cambodia over the next decade. Generic drugs will continue to play a key role, given the low per capita income spending on medicines. In Cambodia, pharma sector, whose current size is around 400 million, is expected to grow by around 15% per year in the next decade. Given the underdeveloped nature of the pharma market in Cambodia, there is a long-term market potential. Considering the market potential for Indian pharma products, opportunities Cambodia offers to Indian pharma industry, and given its strategic location, I would request Indian pharmaceutical companies not to look at Cambodia as a small market of 16 million people, but as a gateway to the ASEAN market, with a combined population of around 620 million. In comparison to some of the neighboring countries, power supply is more stable in Cambodia, and cost of labor being lower, it could be a country of interest to mid-sized generic pharmaceutical industries to establish manufacturing here. India's exporters of formulations with an eye to export from Cambodia, especially to Francophone countries and to other regional markets, as cost of manufacturing would be lower, should consider setting up manufacturing bases in Cambodia. To bridge the development gap between the CLMV countries and other ASEAN countries, as Director Indu Nair had mentioned, the GOI has announced a 75 million project development fund to develop manufacturing hubs in CLMV countries. In case of Cambodia, given its requirement for improving the healthcare infrastructure and capacity, a proposal for setting up a 300-bed hospital, super specialty hospital, by an Indian company is already under consideration. Once set up, this initiative is expected to provide a fillip to export of Indian pharma products and Indian investments in healthcare sector. In Cambodia, 40% of people living in provinces rely on alternate or herbal formulations of medicines. While registration for these medicines is a bit slow, there are opportunities for Ayurveda and other herbal products from India, as the local traditional medicine is quite similar to Indian Ayurveda and herbal products. We at the embassy in Phnom Penh are fully engaged with Ayush to improve this access and regulate and maybe even lead to exchange of regulatory practices between the traditional medicine department of the embassy of the Royal Cambodian government, as well as the department. Medical tourism is another area where more and more Cambodian nationals prefer to visit India. And this is another area where we could probably focus on seeing how this sector could be improved. I'm sure that stakeholders from Indian and Cambodian pharma industry will find the occasion to forge useful partnerships in case of existing partnerships to further consolidate them. As in other collaborations, this is not just a one-time event, but a continuous process of cooperation. We at the Embassy of India in Phnom Penh and my entire team in the commercial wing are at your disposal for any queries that you may have in this regard. In this connection, I would also request Pharmaxil to provide us with the list of all the Cambodian partners who participated in the buyer-seller meet so that we can follow up with them in the future. Another area that Mr. Bhaskar mentioned was that of collaboration between the Drug and Food Department, represented here by Mr. Lok Safi, and between Pharmaxil and also our CDESCO, the Central Drug Regulatory Body of India. This, I feel, is a very fruitful area of cooperation if we can link the DDF and the CDESCO together along with Pharmaxil so that we can understand each other's regulatory processes and make sure that there is smooth transition of best practices between our two countries and have an institutional cooperation between the two organizations. We would also be very interested in supporting the DDF with capacity building courses in areas of the interest to the Department of Food and Drug. I would request Mr. Lok Safi to continue his contact with the Embassy of India, Phnom Penh, to take this forward in the future. To conclude, I'm indeed thankful to Pharmaxil, Ministry of Commerce from India, and Ministry of Health from Royal Government of Cambodia, who helped us organize this event. Most importantly, I thank the pharma companies from both India and Cambodia for their participation in today's event. I hope that there will be fruitful engagement with the stakeholders from both sides. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that inaugural remarks, which was very insightful. Moving forward, we have with us Mr. Lok Safi, Deputy Director, Department of Drugs and Food Administration, Ministry of Health, Cambodia, to give a special address on policy updates on drug registration and government procurement. Sir, I invite you, Mr. Lok Safi, to kindly give your special address.
Good morning, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished Her Excellency Dr. Diwajani, Ambassador India to Cambodia, Mrs. Indu Nai, Director, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, Mr. Ravi Udaya Baska, Director General Pharmaceutical, and Mr. Duri Han Singh, President Pharmaceutical Distributor Association to Cambodia. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to join this meeting, and on behalf of my director, Mr. Raymond Kiet, we allow us to share the update of the drug registration in Cambodia. As the Department of Drug and Food is one of the department in the Ministry of Health, and the Drug Registration Bureau is one bureau in charge for the registration of therapeutic product, vaccine, medical device and reagent, traditional medicine, health supplement, manufacturer registration from the overseas, brand name clearance, and cosmetic notification. We are dealing in the drug registration bureau. Our background for the drug registration system: since 1996, the process of pharmaceutical product registration used to be fully paper-based system, and in 2012, Drug Registration Bureau has introduced a database to keep drug registration information. And in 1st August 2019, Cambodia Pharmaceutical online registration system, it's called Campos, was officially launched. The system was developed by the Indian company. The Cambodia Pharmaceutical online registration system official launch 1st August 2019. As from 1st August 2019 up to now, Campos and the paper-based semi-automatic database are used in parallel. Campos is planned to be stand-alone system with full online registration system in the near future. The advantage of Campos is faster processing, easy to use system, transparent, visible on the current status of application, smart and suitable, automatically check your checklist, secure all document and sell in secure environment, eco-friendly, paper initiative more and time for professional work. Fewer oversight and mistake, improve communication within the regulatory authority and the applicant, increase efficiency and improve quality of work. The process of the registration of Campos online, firstly, company have to register company and then approve the company registration. The company can apply for product registration, and then the regulatory evaluation and apply and query, and then get license. That approval process in Cambodia. Firstly, company have to apply manufacturer registration site, and then brand name clearance, and then apply to the National Laboratory Drug Quality Control for COA, for the certificate of analysis. Then you can apply for marketing authorization with the Drug Registration Bureau. Drug approval process, we apply according to the ACTD, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4. Part 1, administrative data. Part 2 is quality pharmaceutical dossier. Part 3, preclinical, and Part 4, clinical. For the drug registration process, the starter drug registration process is as follow. The reception of dossier and sample, the evaluation dossier, and then send query to application and reply. Submit to the subcommittee meeting or drug evaluator by the chair director. The drug registration committee meeting every 2 or 3 months, hosted by chair, Secretary of State. The approval for drug registration license issued and signed by the head of committee. This is the requirement for drug registration in Cambodia. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Much, Dr. Lok Safi, for detailing the registration process and also updating us on the online system as Campo, for members to take advantage of it. Moving forward, we have address from Mr. Duryodhan Singh, who is the president of Indian Pharmaceutical Distributors Association of Cambodia. to give his address on pharmaceutical business opportunities for Indian companies in Cambodia. Sir, I invite you to kindly give your address.
Okay. Good morning to all the dignitaries of this virtual meeting and delegates from India. On behalf of IPDA, this is Indian Pharmaceutical Distribution Association in Cambodia. We are thankful to the Pharmaceutical for associating to their program. And we are thankful to our embassy also for participating in this program. Just many of the things have been already covered by Excellency Devyani and Mr. Uday Bhaskar also. But there are something which I can highlight is like just brief about the Cambodia. Cambodia population is now growing up and it is nearly around 20 million on off the record, but it's already touching like that. And GDP is growing around 6%. Although because of the COVID, it has gone little down, but I think by the end of the year, they will catch up to 6%. And this is a fast developing economy. And the major sectors of the growth in this country are driving growth is like a tourism, agriculture, and the export of the garment. As far the pharma business is concerned, it is being dominated by US, European companies, Indian, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and other Asian countries. Pharmaceutical spending of the late in Cambodia has gone up because of the per capita income is also good here. So it's a growing from 2015, which was around 241 million USD, and it is expected to around 437 million USD by end of 2021. Government has also increased their budget on the healthcare share spending, and this is a good growth sign for the growth of the industry. And as Madam has said that the growth for the pharma industry is expected around 15%. I believe that it should remain between 10 to 15%. Regarding the business opportunities for the pharma companies from India, here I would like to inform that around 3,000 registered pharmacies are there with the Ministry of Health, and around 500 drug import-export companies are working here, and around 19 manufacturer companies are also working in Cambodia. They are basically local, and one is from French collaboration. A number of new hospitals have also come up here in the past with the local partners as well as from the overseas partners like Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and Japan also. A number of with this collaboration, local partners are also looking for new projects, especially in case of hospitals. As Madam Indu Nair said that they are interested to make a hospital here. So many more people are interested to go for this hospitals, big hospitals, specialty hospitals. And in this case, many more things are there. Mr. Lok Safi has also highlighted about the registration process in the many of our manufacturers are very well present here, but some are the new who don't know the registration process, how it works like, and many are already there. They are here, and some have already registered their companies, but could not succeed, and they have gone back also. For this, Cambodia government required WHO GMP certificate, which is need to be attested by the Cambodian embassy in New Delhi, and then that is to be submitted to the government of Cambodia, DDF. Based on that, when the final registration takes place, their certificate has to be sent to Cambodia, for further verification, and that is the original certificate has to be sent. Once the original certificate is verified by DDF, it will be returned to the manufacturer also. And here, Cambodia, for especially pharma products, they follow the ACTD format, that is ASEAN format, which Mr. Lok Safi also told. They follow the required dossier, samples, COPP, and they require BA study also. So here there is no local BE is required. We can explore it from outside also, and they require for certain molecules only, not for all. There is a list of the molecules for which they require the BE study, and the time for the registration takes from 8 to 12 months, especially in the fast track. And the registration period for one molecule is for 5 years. And after that, it has to be renewed. Before 6 months, it has to be applied for the renewal. Otherwise, there are penalties on this. For medical device, the registration process is also like that in 4 categories. Like there is low, fairly high, and high risk areas. So documents required for this are application form, GMP or ISO certificate, free sale certificate, letter of authorization, product manual, and samples. Healthcare segment is also growing, is in the for health supplements also, because many people are becoming more health conscious and they like to have some more kind of health supplement. And around 2,000 health supplements have already been registered here in Cambodia. For that, the registration is very simple. We require only samples, dossier, free sale certificate, and letter of authorization from the companies. And the registration is done faster than the pharma. It is just in 6 months. And for this, the certificate is given for 3 years. And after that, we have to apply for the renewal again. As Madam has highlighted in her that cardiovascular disease is a very prominent here now, and this area where we need to look after for the marketing also. This is a niche marketing segment. So the segment where Indian pharmaceutical companies should explore more in registering their brands is like cardio product, diabetics product, gynae product, skincare, and dental care. Many new dental clinics have also been set up here, which are to the international standards. And many Western people, especially from Australia, Japan, Korea, all these, and from Europe also, they come for dental treatment, because dental treatment is here very good and cheap also. So we as an IPDA would like, we as an IPDA would like to provide any kind of assistance in the smooth facilitation of the registration, or any kind of assistance related through DDF or through selection of the distribution, or any thing related to us. We are always open for that, so that many more Indian businesses come, they grow here, and the Cambodian people also grow here. That's all. Once again, thanking for all the people here, and this is my only presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duryodhan Singh, for giving us the inputs on the market potential, as well as where India can collaborate with Cambodia. And going forward, we also informed of the market value rising up to $437 million. So that's a good development, in fact. And you have also touched upon the product registration procedures. Thank you so much for associating with us and inviting in the industry, and also making it a successful event. So now since we couldn't see any questions in the platform, we would now move on to the concluding remarks. which I will be giving. To start with, Director Department of Commerce, she has touched upon the cultural relations that are being shared between India and Cambodia, and she also touched upon the joint working group which is going to happen, exclusively with India and Cambodia, which would definitely improve the trade and investment opportunities. And the multi-speciality hospital in collaboration with the Exim Bank and the Cambodian government as project development fund is also one of the important aspect which we have discussed today. And traditional medicine is another area of cooperation which has been highlighted by Her Excellency as well as Hindu Nair Madam as well. Coming to Director General Pharmaxil, he has informed us on the strengths of Indian pharmaceutical industry. How he also touched upon the vaccines development and its contribution to the world. As well, he also highlighted on India not just as a generic medicine manufacturer. Yes, we also we have come up with innovative medicines like Covaxin and Covishield. And he also sought the cooperation between DDA, Ministry of Health, and the CDSCO and Pharmaxil to have a better cooperation between and engagement between India and Cambodia. Moving forward, we have Madam Her Excellency, and she had quoted that it is a timely event focusing on pharmaceuticals. Yes, Madam, we thank you for your support here, for your cooperation and support. And you also mentioned about to India to look at Cambodia as a gateway to ASEAN market and not just to export. And you did mention that the power is very stable in Cambodia, and that is one of the factor that could be the opportunity for Indian companies to look at Cambodia as in setting up of the units. You also mentioned on the epidemiology of Cambodia as the cardiovascular diseases and oncology, where certainly India is strong, and then we can look forward to working with Cambodia embassy and the Ministry of Health wherever possible, ma'am. And you also did mention that trade between India and Cambodia is very promising, and that encourages us to do more events and then do more exports in the coming days. And yes, vaccine deals. You have also mentioned about the Serum Institute being supplying the vaccines to Cambodia. In fact, that is very, very interesting, ma'am. And you also touched upon the area of medical tourism, which can be looked at as one of the area of opportunity. Yes, I think post pandemic, then we can certainly look at medical tourism as one of the area. Coming to Mr. You did mention about the capacity buildings between, as mentioned by Director General Pharmaxil, and you reiterated on that. And then we certainly look forward to working with the embassy and DDG to take it forward as what could be the best possible cooperation in terms of facilitating the product registrations between India and Cambodia. As well, we move on to Mr. Lok Safi. Thank you, sir, for joining us. And you did mention about this system that has taken place, to online as Campo, and it was done by. You did mention that it was done by Indian company. You have clearly mentioned the process on how to register a particular product. When it comes to the Indian companies. Sir, thank you so much for outlining the registration procedure. Mr. Duryodhan Singh, during his speech, he has mentioned that the population has increased to 20 million, and that also can be seen as an opportunity, as well as the GDP is, of course, growing to beyond 6%. And he mentioned that the market is dominated by European, US, India, and India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan companies. And one good aspect that he mentioned is about the market, which is likely to grow to $437 million. And there's another opportunity which is highlighted is about 3,000 registered pharmacies which is present in Cambodia, which is again an aspect of cooperation and opportunity for the Indian companies to look forward. There are about 19 manufacturing companies. Yes, Indian companies can certainly look at associating with these companies either through joint ventures or joint collaborations, or conducting the clinical trials. So this could be another opportunity wherein India and Cambodia could join together. And he has touched upon the format which Indian companies submit, which is ASEAN CTD, Common Technical Document. Sir, we would like to have those list of the products which you mentioned. Sir, for BIB, it is not required, and that would help us, taking this forward and informing the industry. I would like to thank, with this concluding remarks, I would like to thank each and everyone present here. Her Excellency Madam Devyani Madam, Madam Indu Nair, then Deputy Director Mr. Lok Safi, Mr. Duryodhan Singh, for extending their cooperation in making this a successful event. Thank you so much for joining us and gracing this event. Moving forward, we will be having session 2, wherein the companies from India and Cambodia will be having the B2B meetings, and this goes up to the end of the day for India, as well as let's say Cambodia time 6 p.m. and India time 5:30 p.m. I welcome the India companies from India and Cambodia to kindly join us, have the B2B meetings, and take this collaboration forward. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, with this, ma'am, you'd like to say something? Thank you so much for joining us. Sir, once again, thank you so much for making this a successful event, madam. Thank you, Her Excellency. Thank you so much.